So, one of the only experiences I had where I couldn't really fully explain what happened was back when I was living in New York. I had to have been about maybe 20 years old, and I'd had some friends who lived in Newburgh, New York. His name was Dizzy, white boy named Dizzy, white boy named Will, and our black friend named Romeo. Crazy guys, real cool. They lived in these kind of these suburb area in Newburgh, and I visited them. We'd hung out all the time, and this was right about the time that the Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian released. We had rented it from Redbox, and we were going to make a thing of it, and just sit around, smoke, and watch this movie. Well, they had told me plenty of times that the place that they live at, they swear was haunted. I didn't believe any of it. I was pretty skeptical. I've never really been around anything where I'd seen something and went, oh, that's a ghost for sure. So I didn't really believe the stories. Thought they were just trying to, psych me out. We're laying there and we're just starting to watch this movie. And you can hear what sounds like somebody walking across the roof of the room that we're sitting in. And at the time, it's me, Dizzy, Will, Romeo, and Dizzy's girlfriend, Amber. We're all sitting there and they hear it. And I hear it. I look up, I'm like, whoa, what the f*** is that? And they's like, that's what we're telling you that we hear every night. Like, that's it. That's the stuff, man. They're like, that's part of what we've been telling you about. It's haunted. And I was like, whatever. That's just coming from the attic. It's probably just old house. They're like, but it sounds like footsteps, doesn't it? I'm like, it does sound like footsteps. Yes. So I jokingly just say, well, if you guys are so for sure it's haunted, why don't we just perform a seance? See if we can talk to the spirit. At first, they're skeptical. Amber wants nothing to do with this. She is completely scared of the paranormal, and she doesn't like messing with what her words were, bad spirits and bad vibes. But eventually, I convinced the entire group that we should do this. And they're like, okay, well, what do we got to do? And I'm not like a paranormal investigator by no means. A lot of it I just kind of looked up online, pop culture, watching stuff like Supernatural, ghost hunters, and things of the sort. So I just kind of go over like some of the basic stuff. I'm like, all right, well, we need to go ahead and turn off the breaker to the house, kill all electronical interference. That way we kill all the lights. So we find some flashlights, and I tell them we also need some candles for the seance. Each person needs their own candle. And we're going to perform what's called just a simple palm up, palm down seance, where we all sit in a circle. One palm's up, one palm's down. We lock arms. And one person, whoever the speaker or the medium is, asks questions. And yes or no questions. That way they can be answered in the form of, knock once for yes, twice for no. Something really simple. And it's, just easy to scare your friends with, So they decide to go ahead and we're going to go through with this. And they're like, okay, well, where should we do it? I go, well, let's go to the attic. That's where the noises are coming from, right? And I've convinced everyone we're going to go up to the attic. Well, in the laundry room is where it had one of those pull-down ladders that gave access to the attic in the house they were in. This is definitely an older house. So we turn off the breaker. We all get a candle. I told them I need a bowl of water and a candle for the spirit to have a candle as well. We get all that. We take all of these supplies up to the attic. Now, in the attic, it's completely just wood and trusses and some insulation scattered throughout. Not even fully on the actual parts of the ceiling anymore. And there's this one lone window that's not quite shaped it's like a rectangle with a slit missing. So it's kind of like a trapezoid. But it's the only light in the attic, and it's coming from the street light outside. But it's real frosted, so you can hardly see anything coming from that window. We get upstairs. We start setting the bowl down, start setting up the candles. Romeo insists that he's going to hold the flashlight, and he's kind of looking around. Amber doesn't want to be up there. She keeps trying to convince us to go back downstairs, that we shouldn't mess with this. And I tell them, no, we're already here. Let's go ahead and do it. We ain't scared. We're no punks. So we sit there, and I tell them, all right, so who's going to be the speaker? Before we light these candles, we need to designate somebody. And they're like, well, you're the one that's, it's your idea. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll be the one that asks the spirit the questions. But, I just make sure that we all hold hands, that we don't, break the circle of this seance. Once we lock hands and start asking questions, we need to sit this through until the session's over. So we go ahead and start. We light all our candles. Each of us have a little white candle, the ones that have the little tinfoil on them. You can buy like 20 or for a pack. And we each have one of those. We have one sitting in front of each of us. So, and then we have a bowl of water in the middle with the candle floating on it, with the flame lit on it as well. And we go ahead and start the seance. I ask simple questions. I go, is there anybody with us? Silence. Snickers and giggling from Will and Romeo as they trying to touch each other, kind of elbow each other, freak each other out. I'm like, okay. Can you show us a sign that you're here? Nothing. We hear a little bit of rustling over in the corner of the room. We all kind of dart our eyes to the corner of the attic from where we came from, and we don't really see anything. We assume it's like a rat or something moving insulation. And I said, show us that you're here. Nothing. We're just kind of exasperated at this point. The thrill and the high of the seance is starting to kind of die down. And so I do what is not recommended to do when you're performing these actions, and I get really cocky with it. And I'm just like, you know what, fine. We invite this session to any spirits in the area, friendly or not. Show us a sign that you're here. We challenge you, spirit, to show us that you exist. At that time, we hear Amber gasping, and we're all freaking out, being like, what is it? And she's just looking down, and she says, the flame on the middle candle. We look at it, and it is pointed to me. The flame is slightly bigger, but it's completely pointing and facing me, as if someone's blowing on it whenever you blow on a flame. And I'm just like, all right, guys, come on. So it's like, everybody hold your breath. So we all just and hold our breaths, and the flame is still just steady. And Amber at this point is really freaked out. She goes, we shouldn't be doing this. We need to get out of here. We've had our fun. She had goosebumps on her arms because she was to my right. So I was holding her hand, and her hand was sweaty, but she kept trying to pull away from me. And I'm like, no, we still got to, we're still in the middle of the session. We need to continue this. We need to finish it. Well, just as I say, show us who you are, spirit. We hear a thud in the far back corner of the attic near the window. We all turn and look. And at that time, it looked like somebody, a stark figure, went from like a fetal position to standing in the attic. And it walked in front of that window. So much so that it blocked out the light. We could physically see it block out the light from the window, like someone walked in front of it. At that point, everyone freaked out. We couldn't move. We couldn't speak. And then we heard a loud bang come from downstairs. At that point, everyone freaked out, said, "F this." And everyone broke hands. Everyone grabbed the flashlight that Romeo had. Everyone blew out the candles, and we darted downstairs. We were all single file. They kept flashing the light around the room looking for what we'd seen. There was nothing in the attic. We started making our way downstairs, down the ladder, and we hear Will downstairs go, "What the f***, guys?" And when we get downstairs, every faucet in his house was on. The one in the kitchen, the one in the guest bedroom, the guest bathroom, the one in his parents' master bathroom, the water faucet outside of the house that they didn't have the garden hose plugged up to. Every faucet had been turned on in the house. The bathtub, everything. We immediately ran for the breaker, flipped the breaker, got all the lights back on, and then everybody went room by room and just turning off all the water faucets. We then just retreated back to Dizzy's room, where Prince Caspian was still paused. As soon as it loaded back up, we knew where we left off. We just clicked play, And we sat there and we didn't talk for a good solid 10 minutes. Everyone's hairs were standing on their edge. You could tell everyone was visibly shook and upset. And then something occurred to me, and I just said, uh-oh. Dizzy and Will were like, uh-oh? What do you mean, uh-oh? What's uh-oh? You need to tell us what uh-oh means. I told them, we didn't close the seance. When we left, we just left in a hurry. We didn't say that this session is closed. We didn't say goodbye. We just left whatever that we had created to open a gateway to speak to something. We just left the door unlocked and open. After that night, we had all went to sleep. I left and went back to the show that I was working with at the time. And I haven't heard from them since. And then nobody spoke about it. I have no idea if that house itself still just has an opened gateway, an open doorway. I still myself very skeptical. I still can't believe what I've seen. And there's not really a way to explain that. Even if we can explain the figure that we seen, that was just our minds playing tricks with us. What we cannot, no matter what situation, what explanation we had, there was no way that anybody had broke into the house and went to every room and turned on every water faucet for a prank. Even if they knew that we were up there, how would they know to do that? And that was the one experience to this day, I've told many, many times and have yet to fully understand. The only thing I do know is that if anybody ever does visit that one house in Newburgh, New York, that session never did close. So you were just listening to Jynx